1260 WMBA Ambridge, and also on 99.3 FM.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and hosts. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
The following program is for mature and logical audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Play YMCA. Go ahead. Let's go. Nice and loud.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Thinking Logically. It's your host again, once again, Joseph Anthony Corsai. The good news today, our country survived those protests over the weekend. Protests / riots, whatever you want to call them. The bad news is, though, a few Americans didn't, including some state lawmakers up in Minnesota. Don't know if you heard or saw that story. We're going to go over it in our second segment. Also, another man was shot and killed at a protest in Utah. Those are the big two killing stories over the weekend. What else did we see over the weekend? We had a military parade. That was kind of cool to watch, I have to say. And some local stories. The Pirates are playing better. They lost, Ryan, to the Cubs 1-3 in the series, but it very easily could have been 3-1.
Absolutely. It was they were all 2-1 games and 3-2 games. Yeah. All three very close games that the Pirates could have they were in striking distance at least. And
like I said, they win 2 out of those 3 that they lost. It's just it's a different thing on the record. Different thing. Also, local story. The U.S. Open concluded Sunday in epic fashion. Did you watch any of the U.S. Open, Ryan?
I did not, unfortunately.
J.J. Spawn, that 60-some foot birdie putt he made on 18. He just needed to get close. But Sam Burns falling apart. Feel bad for the kid. He's the people's champ, Sam Burns. A lot of younger kids like him.
Yes.
Everyone just fell apart with the Pittsburgh weather. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the winner was the only one that finished under par, if I'm not mistaken.
And he was 4 or 6 over or something to the first 9.
Right.
How crazy is that? So that was the local stories around here. I will say protest-wise, wasn't that bad, at least around here locally. Now, that's what we're going to kick off today's show by talking about the, quote, No Kings protest we saw in cities across the country. Ryan, did you see the video I sent you of me driving past our local protest in Beaver?
I did. I liked it. I liked it a lot, actually, yes.
Now, I will say one thing about the protest in Beaver, where we live, our hometown, our home county. At least it was peaceful, from what I saw. If you're going to protest against your president for whatever reason, that's the way you should do it, like that. It was peaceful. No one got out of hand from what I saw, and I drove past, and I kind of walked past a little bit, and it was nothing crazy, nothing that crazy. The only problem was what they were protesting. It didn't really make any sense, especially when you take into account that pretty much all the people in attendance protesting were Democrats. And in case you forgot, that is the same party that didn't have a primary this year for the presidential election. They just instead decided to anoint a lady as queen at the top of the ticket without any of the voters in the Democrat Party, or that identified as a Democrat, having a say on who gets to be at the top of the ticket in their nominee as president. You know, that whole democracy thing that we do every 4 years that the left loves to talk about. Democracy. So how can you have these protests where you call Trump a king? How can you have that little self-awareness? Question, audience. Does a king have his mugshot taken before going on half a dozen different trials? One of those trials being for not appraising his castle, right? His property, right? Does a king get his mugshot taken over that? No. Trump won the presidency and can't even execute any of the executive powers that he is legally obligated to execute, unless a federal judge appointed by the last president, Joe Biden, or Joe Biden's auto pen, I should say, unless that person signed off on it. I'm serious. Think about that. Can a king be overruled by a federal judge? No, not to my knowledge. Can a king deport whoever he wants. I think he'd be able to. If a king all of a sudden wakes up and says, hey, I want to build a wall around my castle, can he do it? Yes. It doesn't matter what the people in his court say. Can a king decide who gets to work on the castle, in the castle, beyond the king's court? Can he decide that? Yes. But King Trump can't even fire federal workers without having a judge check him and say, no, like Newman from Jurassic Park. Jeez, like I said, if anyone can be considered political royalty, it's Kamala Harris. She was literally anointed. That's the word you should use. Anointed as the Democrat candidate without an election. They just said, that's who we're going with. Joe Biden, we know everyone said he wasn't mentally fit, but you know what? You're wrong. Fast forward a couple weeks, months. Actually, Joe Biden isn't fit. We're not going to hold a primary. I know RFK wanted to be the candidate, but no, it's Kamala. Sorry about that. Who actually was the king, or should I say queen maker, that called that shot, that said, you know what, we're going with Kamala. That used to be how it was back in the day. You had your kings and queens, and you had your king and queen makers, the people that really had the power. Who was that? Was it Obama? Was it a Soros? Was it lizard alien people from a different planet? I don't know. We may never know. Hell, we don't even know who was running the show in the White House the last administration. We just know it's not Biden. Oh, and you can't ask him anything, Joe Biden that is, because he has dementia. Well, at least they're admitting now that he has dementia. And terminal cancer, by the way. He's about to exit stage left, I'm telling you. Anyway, like I was saying, some of us had always known it wasn't Biden making the decisions, but for some reason, they are now admitting it out loud, and we're allowed to know some of these truths. If, of course, you spend money and buy Jake Tapper's book, that is. So again, how dumb was the logic behind these, quote, no kings protests we saw in numerous cities? And also, how late were these protests? I'm not talking about starting at noon and, as opposed to 10 o'clock. I'm talking about they were years late, half a decade. We needed a no kings protest in 2020 to go after all them tyrannical governors that told us how many people we were allowed to have over for a summer cookout. Remember that one? Where were all the protests then? We couldn't protest because you had to stay 6 feet apart, remember? There were no protests in California during COVID. Tyrant Governor Gavin Newsom would eat dinner at fancy restaurants, maskless. Meanwhile, you serfs out there had to wear a mask in between bites. If you didn't order an appetizer, you couldn't take that mask off until the food came out. I know. I was a part of it. You couldn't, unless you ordered a drink, you couldn't take the mask off, and you could only do it in between sips. Your kids had to mask up to get an education. Imagine that. Talk about a king. Only a king orders his subjects to be arrested for stuff like walking on a beach. Surfers were arrested by SWAT teams on a beach. They were surfing in the ocean by themselves. And Gavin Newsom sent in the knights. They weren't knights in shining armor either. He sent in SWAT teams. King Gavin Newsom sent in SWAT teams. Remember when they dumped the sand into every single skate park? So you couldn't, because that would stop COVID. Or did the 2x4s over basketball courts so they couldn't play basketball? Targeting the black community, I should mention. They made you mask up to get a haircut. Unless, of course, you were Queen of the Stock Exchange, Lord Nancy Pelosi. Remember, she didn't have to wear a mask when she got her hair done. Queen Nancy. Her husband, Paul, he may also be a little bit of a queen himself, if you know what I mean. Remember what happened with that guy that mysteriously, got fresh ice cubes and a man in my house, better call the police.
In her underwear. How many, Joe, come on, how many times have you ended up in that situation in your life? Never. Standing in your living room in your underwear with a strange guy, he has a hammer, you have a fresh drink.
Fresh ice. The ice was clinking around in there so loud. Oh, man. Let's move to sports. Remember the Washington Nationals when they put on an entire baseball match during the pandemic for Dr. Fauci and his wife?
Yeah.
His lady?
Yes.
Dr. Fauci, Lord Liege Fauci and his lady. They were the only people in the stands, maskless, watching a Major League Baseball game in person. No one else was allowed to do it but Lord Fauci. So who are the real kings? What was the purpose of this protest? This no king, because we want to have a military parade that just so happened to fall on Trump's birth. Sorry. Who are the real king? King Fauci told you how many people you were allowed to have over for Christmas 5 years ago. Joe Biden declared prima nocta on every child he would come close to by getting the first smell in them. You were powerless as a parent, like William Wallace. You had to watch him just grab your child and sniff him up. Stuff kings. Are you familiar with prima nocta?
I am not, no.
That's the rite of the first night. You ever see Braveheart where the Lord's able to take, you get married, and then your liege lord of the land has the first dibs on your wife's,
Okay.
intercourse.
Yeah.
So that's called like the first night prima. That's what Braveheart started over.
Okay.
He didn't want the Lord of the Land to have first dibs on his wife. Rightly so.
Yeah,
God
right.
forbid.
Right.
I know us serfs. We'll let them steamroll over us for a lot of things, but that kind of stuff is a bridge too far, I think. But I don't know.
And another point, Joe, you made about the army and the military on Trump's birthday. It wasn't like he stretched to do this. It was literally a celebration.
250 years. 250 years. That's a good number. It's a
Right.
good round number.
Right. How
He
is
didn't
how is
dress
this a
up like
bad thing?
Gaddafi and have the military garb on.
Right.
He could have. If he really wanted to, he should have trolled them. Because he's the commander in chief, he technically can wear a uniform.
Yeah.
Now, there's no U.S. military uniform for him. He'd have to create his own, which would be even more hilarious. Why would he not do that? Oh, he should have did. We should do another one next year. And do it then. Make your own uniform. It makes the logic behind the No Kings protest. For some reason, a few billionaires got together and decided to fund a protest called No Kings. They're protesting a president that just won the popular vote and is gaining, disagree if I'm wrong, more support by the day. Yes or no? He's getting more popular, but make it make sense, please. It doesn't. It's just a big waste of money.
One thing that I realized, Joe, at this point, they're going to just complain about every single little thing, even if it's nothing wrong. It's just, something that we're noticing here. And I think the scarier part of the whole entire thing is this. Once Trump's term is done, and let's just say whoever it is that runs for the Republicans doesn't pull it off, I'm just really fearful of what they're going to come back at us with. You know what I mean? Who's going to be the candidate that they're going to come back with? And I just think that they're going to be really extreme.
It can't be Gavin Newsom right now. We'll go into the next segment, Tim Walz and what happened in Minnesota. It should have never been Tim Walz ever. But it's slim pickings. The best, and we've been saying it on the show for months, the best course is to just rewrite the amendment to have Trump be able to have a third term and have him go off against Barack Obama.
That'd be cool.
That would be awesome. And that's what the American people deserve. We've been paying taxes throughout. Give us this show. Give us the show of Obama, who spied on Donald Trump's campaign in 2015 and 16, versus Donald Trump, who promised to arrest Hillary Clinton and still hasn't yet. Let's talk about everything. Let's go back the whole 10 years.
Yeah.
All right, we got to get moving because there were shootings at some of these No Kings protests. So, a bystander, like I said, at one of these protests was shot and killed in Utah. Andy No explains in his social media post what happened. He said, a Latino radical leftist and Antifa supporter has been charged with murder after a man shot at the Salt Lake City No Kings protest died from his injuries. Otoro Gambata was wearing all black, allegedly had a rifle. He's a No Kings liberal peacekeeper. A No Kings liberal peacekeeper volunteer with bad aim, apparently tried to take out this Otoro Gambio, but instead fatally wounded a bystander. And the person's name that was shot was Afa Alu, pictured in the portrait below, and he died. The suspect, Gamboa, only suffered a graze wound. The peacekeeper has not been named, and police have not stated if he will face any charges. And I actually sat on a jury of it was for a murder trial, and the reason the person that shot the gun isn't charged yet is whatever the suspect did was something illegal that caused this person to shoot him. So let's go into this here. But listen to how the CBS in Utah described what happened. This is the headline. From CBS Utah's social media page on X, this is what they tweeted out. A peaceful protester died after being unintentionally shot by a designated peacekeeper during a No King's Day protest in Salt Lake City. It's a weird headline. So weird to read. So again, who is this Arturo Gamboa? Well, apparently he was active during the quote, Summer of Love protest in 2020. He was a supporter of Black Lives Matter. He was also raised in the Church of Latter-day Saints in Utah by a Venezuelan immigrant father. This is just the strangest dude on earth. Witnesses say Gamboa had a backpack and gas mask. Why you would bring that to the No Kings protest, I have no idea. Or who bought it for him, also no idea. Anyway, he separated from the march and hid behind a wall, then pulled out an AR-15 rifle. Gamboa allegedly raised the weapon and started running toward a crowd of protesters. Peacekeepers in high-visibility vests participating in the event saw this. One pulled out a handgun and fired 3 shots. One shot hit Gamboa, causing a minor gunshot wound. He was treated at the hospital, released and booked at the Salt Lake City County Jail. One of the other rounds, however, hit an innocent bystander and killed him. This peacekeeper in the high-visibility vest who fired 3 shots is cooperating with the police and has not been charged with anything at this time. Now, Ryan, didn't we say something like this would happen to part of these protests into more protests and riots last episode? Play that audio of what we literally said last episode. Now, if something happens during one of these protests in New York City and someone dies, which I think is the plan, have someone killed during these protests so we could parlay them into another protest, or maybe do like a 5-team party. You could have one person killed for each separate race in each separate city and have like a George Floyd times 1,000. 5-team parlay pays out 20-1, right? Hey, make the Summer of Love look like an 8th grade ice cream social there. Maybe that's the plan. We just had the wrong state and city. That's kind of exactly what happened. Again, we need to know more about this peacekeeper who shot the person that died, and this guy that was raised in the Latter-day Saints by a Venezuelan immigrant. What the hell? Strange. So again, explain this to me. A peaceful protester was shot by a peacekeeper. Someone pulled out an AR-15, and that's the reason the peacekeeper shot. This should be nationwide news. Who is this person? Was he paid? Can we look at his bank accounts, his PayPal, his Venmo? Where did he get the gas mask from? Why do you have the gas mask? You see how it's just, I'm just an average citizen here asking these questions. This is like Jake Tapper should wait 5 years and do this, I guess, and write a book about it maybe. And also, didn't we say someone could dress up as the National Guard and kill a few people and possibly because of that Humvee or something that was stolen months ago? Well, we saw something like that similar happen in Saturday morning. It wasn't a National Guard. He dressed up like the police, like a crazy person dressed up like the maniac cop and started shooting elected state officials. And we're going to take a break, but we're going to cover that crazy story when we return here to Thinking Logically on 99.3 FM WBVP. Stay tuned. It's Joe again from Thinking Logically, here to tell you about one of my favorite clothing items, the MyPillow hoodie. 2 things I love the most about this hoodie are how it fits and how it feels. This hoodie is extremely roomy, and its terry cloth material makes it lighter than any other hoodie I own. Use promo code LOGIC to maximize your savings. The MyPillow hoodie. Get yours today. It's Joe Corsi here from Thinking Logically to tell you about Beaver County's #1 realtor, Mark Galla with RE/MAX Select Realty. With over 10 years experience, Mark knows all the ins and outs of the real estate business, so whether you're looking to rent, buy, sell, or swap your house, you can rely on Mark to take the hassle out. Mark Galla of RE/MAX Select Realty, going above and beyond.
Tri-State Sporting Arms on Main Street in New Brighton is now open. Stop in and explore their extensive selection of high-quality firearms, pistols, and accessories. Tri-State Sporting Arms also pays top dollar for used firearms. Their experienced and highly trained staff is here to assist you in selecting the right firearm for you. Stop on down to Beaver County's newest firearm store, Tri-State Sporting Arms, at 807 3rd Avenue, New Brighton, or check them out on Facebook.
Tune in to Good Talk with Matthew Modini every fourth Friday of the month from 11 a.m. to noon for an exciting dive into real estate. Matthew, a real estate pro, will share valuable lessons and expert tips on navigating the real estate market with professional guests. Stay updated with the latest news and sports in Beaver County and the Pittsburgh area. Whether you're a real estate enthusiast or simply enjoy a good story, Good Talk with Matthew Modini is your source of entertaining real estate, local news, and sports. The show will also be live on our Facebook. Don't miss out.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logic here on 99.3 FM WBVP. If you're just joining us, the first segment we were talking about the No Kings protest that went on in the country and just how dumb it was. Like, Kamala Harris was anointed. She's literally a queen. Who anointed her? Obama, Soros, space aliens, lizard people. We don't know, but she was anointed. But for some reason, Trump is the king, even though he can't deport anyone without a judge's permission or do anything at all without a federal judge's permission. Now we're going to talk about this crazy shooting. And when I say crazy, that is an understatement. This crazy shooting that happened in Minnesota that took out one state legislator and gravely injured another. So, again, we played the clip in the first segment of us pretty much calling that a protester would be shot this weekend, and they would try to parlay that into more riots. We kind of said something like this would happen. Ryan, play the audio of what we said last episode could be a possibility going into this weekend.
Remember, a military Humvee was stolen. What if a National Guardsman, like at Kent University, shoots a bunch of college people in the face and kills a bunch of college people? I mean, can you imagine that? I feel like we'd be able to get to the bottom of it really quick, but you can't trust the news media. No, not at all. And I feel like it's scary, but that's like a real possibility.
And what did I say? But you can't trust the news media. Well, we didn't have the National Guard killing anyone. It was some maniac dressing up like a state police officer or something, going door to door shooting people. So we were close.
Ballpark.
So authorities have finally captured Minnesota shooter and police impersonator Vance Bolter, I think that's his name, Bolter. And Minnesota Governor Tim Walz announced the arrest at a press conference late Sunday. Listen in.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Okay, that actually wasn't Tim Walz, but I play that audio anytime I get the chance. So this guy had a hit list of 70 or some names, 40, 70 names, a lot of names, a few dozen names in his car of people he wanted to kill. Like Steve Buscemi, kind of, if you think about Billy Madison. Was the lipstick there? I don't know. Was he Republican, Democrat? I don't know. If he was a Democrat, probably can expect a lipstick there. Republican, maybe not. Anyway, let's move along here. Why he started with these two people on the list, I guess we'll never know. I think Tim Walz was on the hit list, though, as well. That'd be a crazy matchup. This maniac with a gun dressed as a cop versus Tim Walz holding a shotgun, changing an oil filter in a car, dressed like Elmer Fudd.
I just never heard so many times in my life of people leaving behind all this evidence. A list of names. This is every single person now. All the stuff that they found behind Matthew Crooks.
They're the worst criminals ever, but they're the best because this guy was able to elude police after a shootout.
Yeah, right.
Hold on, let's go. Let's dive in. We might just spend the rest of the episode on this. So let's go over exactly what happened, starting with the shooting in the early hours of Saturday morning. So 2 Minnesota lawmakers and their spouses were shot. Now, I believe they both had voted with Republicans against funding illegal aliens' health care, something like that. The female lawmaker and her husband, they passed away. The shooter, wearing what looked to be like a Michael Myers mask and in a cop uniform, latex something, was caught on a front door cam. Creepy picture. You got to look it up. You got to check it out, audience, if you can. But by the way, in my opinion, the guy on the ring cam looks a lot skinnier than the man they arrested or they saying committed the shootings. And that man, ID'd as Vance Bolter, is a 7-Eleven manager who also, for some reason, owned a security company and has ties to Africa via various NGOs or something along those lines. Crazy, I know, right? So in this person's car, a manifesto was allegedly found. I've heard reports that a manifesto maybe wasn't found now. Also, tons of No Kings flyers were scattered around the car. Go figure. Why not have those out in the open if you're about to commit a crime? And like I said, the hit list with names of Dems, mostly Dems, Republicans, also abortion clinics. There's also this guy's roommate who for some reason has been in front of the cameras all weekend, freely reading text messages that the killer sent him. It's all very strange. And again, I'm sorry, but this dude looks like he gained 100 pounds overnight from the picture of him in the Michael Myers mask and the fake uniform. Now, we're going to cover the shootings in detail, however they were carried out in the third segment or a little bit later, as well as the shootout that took place in one of the victims' driveways. But first, let's talk about this Vance Bolter guy. Now, supposedly this Vance guy is a Trump supporter, but at the same time was nominated by Tim Walz for something. Whatever, that happens. And his wife may have worked for the Walz campaign. Whatever, that happens sometimes, you know. He had a hit list that was just released, but the manifesto, if it does exist, wasn't released. It's very strange detective work they got going on there. And then there's this guy's roommate or former roommate. I don't even know. This is from CBS News. The roommate of Minnesota lawmaker shooting suspect Vance Bolter spoke to CBS News about rumors circulating online about the suspect's politics. Quote, "He's not a Democrat. Actually, he'd be offended if people were to call him a Democrat," he said, adding that Bolter, quote, was a Trump supporter, voted for Trump, and was happy President Trump won the 2024 election. And more from CBS and other affiliates. Again, for some reason, they're freely interviewing this man who was just texting a mass shooter. This is the text, or this is from the roommate here. He said he wasn't a Democrat. He listened to InfoWars. It sounds like they're just trying to paint a picture. Ryan, play the audio. We're going to play audio clips now. We got 5 to 6 of them. First, play the news reporting in front of this roommate's house. Play that.
We even asked about Mr. Bolter's political affiliations, and David Carlson, once again, his roommate and best friend, known him since 4th grade, did say Bolter voted for Trump and that he was a strong supporter.
Okay, so already you can see they're setting the narrative, the media. They're trying to tie this to Trump and away from whatever the truth is. And you might think I'm crazy, but just let me get through this segment and tell me what you think at the end. Now, let's play the audio of the neighbor talking about Vance's political affiliation. Play that, Ryan.
Well, everyone's calling him a Democrat. He's not a Democrat. He would be offended if people called him a Democrat. Because of this board thing he was on for Governor Walz, it wasn't to serve. He was just serving the community.
He was just serving the community. Listen to how he gives an excuse for his friend being nominated by Tim Walz. Remember, he said he didn't get into politics. He didn't really know politics, but he knew that. And then listen to whose name he drops in the next clip. Ryan, play that.
Did he ever bring up the senator or the representative who were targeted?
Like I was saying, no, he never talked about that. I didn't recognize him.
Any politicians he mentioned?
Nancy Pelosi, they didn't like Jim Walz.
Nancy Pelosi is like Jim
They
Walz.
like Jim Biden.
And Jim Biden. So he got all three people's names wrong. Said he didn't like Nancy Pelosi, Jim Walz, Jim Biden. And then he tells us not to call his friend and roommate a crazy white winger before breaking down into tears. And I think this is actually a separate day, but Ryan, play this audio.
I just want you guys to just not say crazy right winger gone nuts and you know, that was all he is, you know. It just bothers me that's his legacy. But I knew him all my life. He wasn't that guy, you know. You're gonna kill me.
He sounds like Will Ferrell crying in the phone booth during Anchorman when they kick Baxter over the bridge.
Yeah.
And who said crazy right winger gone nuts? No one said that. No. And then he gives another interview where he reads the text messages from the shooter to the media. Ryan, play that, please.
Dead short. So I just want to let you know I love you guys both, and I wish it hadn't gone this way. I don't want to say anything more and implicate you in any way, because you guys don't know anything about this. But I love you guys, and I'm sorry for all the trouble this has caused.
Again, in case you're just tuning in, this is taking place on this man's porch, driveway, whatever, with news cameras, all interviewing him. He's reading the text messages this murderer sent him. And the show's name is called Thinking Logically. So we try to think logically as often as we possibly can in an audience. I have to ask you, since when do the police decide to not confiscate the guy's phone and instead let him read all the messages to the press in front of cameras from a killer that murdered two people, possibly politically motivated? Hello? Where's the FBI? Where's Cash Patel? Where's Bondi? Mighty convenient that he got text messages, this guy, the roommate, got text messages completely absolving him of any knowledge of the event. Did you hear what he said at the end there? He doesn't want us to know anything. This roommate knows everything about his buddy's politics, but he didn't know his roommate was building a cop car in the garage? What, in uniforms and latex masks? And listen to the entire audience. Listen to this entire interview that takes place over, I think, 2 separate days because he's wearing 2 different outfits. And if you watch the video, you can see this guy doesn't change or shower much. Anyway, the guy knows more than he's telling us. But at the same time, he wouldn't let the reporters look at the messages, though. And he keeps saying that his friend doesn't want him involved for some reason. Play the weirdest part of the interview.
Well, he said that he made some choices, and he said you guys don't know anything about it, but yeah.
Another big ass.
But he said he didn't have much time to live.
Another big ass. Do you mind if I take a picture of the text message?
Nah, I kind
block out his number.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I kind of keep that private.
Do you?
I read it to people, and I don't know. I just gotta get going. I have to.
Is his phone still ringing when you called?
No, it's
Go straight to voicemail?
yeah, just voicemail. I can't. He won't. He doesn't want me involved.
Why are the reporters coaching him through the answers? Did you see it? Is his phone still ringing? No, it's does it go straight to voicemail? Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It's just he doesn't want me involved. I gotta go. I'm tired. This is private stuff. You were just given an interview for 2 days. And for some reason, this roommate showed up to both interviews soaking wet, completely soaked. I mean, I know he's a sloppy dude in general. You got to see this guy. But why is he soaking wet? He needs to take a shower before talking to the media. It looks like he kind of did, and he got out of the shower. He got the wet back of his hair. Is this a real human? Is this going to be like the prisoner set free from the Syrian torture prison camp? That was more believable than what this dude's telling the news media. Is he even a roommate? Shouldn't some of those reporters and journalists ask for, I don't know, proof? Proof that, hey, he lives here, I live with this guy, I've known him since 4th grade, can we get a yearbook? They're taking this dude's story, who works at Papa John's and is sloppy as can be, as if it's gospel. The gospel. From a guy who says he's a roommate of a suspect who had a wife in a security company and 5 kids, yet has a roommate. I just don't understand. I don't understand. He's sitting there reading the text messages between himself and the man as there's a statewide manhunt. And the police are just like, hey, just hang on to that phone. We don't need it. Let us know if he texts you again. Call us. Get in touch with us if he texts you again. We will maybe try to triangulate or something. Then we'll come to you. We'll find you.
You know, and especially it's a high-profile case. It's odd that they wouldn't confiscate that and allow him to just keep reading and reading and reading. It's weird.
Arrest him immediately. It gets weirder because I'm sorry. If this guy is his current roommate, like they live together, number one, if your roommate is your friend from 4th grade, that's a little bit strange, but what makes it weird in general is if that roommate that you've had since 4th grade you're living with, you're doing it while you're married with 5 kids. That's even more. What's next? Are we going to find out this dude has 13 terabytes of child porn on his computer? Like the dude from the Vegas Massacre's brother? Is that next? I guess they found something in this Vance's wife's car. I think she was found with weapons, ammos, cash, passport, something. Why is she not arrested? If it would have been Melania Trump, she would have been arrested. Why haven't they detained Mr. Papa John roommate? Why is he not detained? Why? At least grab the phone, right? The FBI, are they going to take over? This has got to be a federal crime, right? You would think this is a federal crime.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Where the manifesto should be out. Instead, we're only getting names, if there is a manifesto. What was he doing in Africa? Had to be more than just preaching. Was there NGO money attached to this? Again, I don't understand. This dude turned himself in. What's his bail set at? I think it's $5 million. Do you know what Trump's bail was? Almost $500 million.
Oh, yeah. That's
because
right.
he got the wrong price on his property. I don't know. When this first happened, I thought it was for sure left wing. I thought after what happened with Luigi Mangione, all the people saying that was a great thing what Luigi did, gunning down a person in cold blood. I thought they were going to have to eat a lot of crow and say, we didn't know freeing Luigi would lead to more people getting shot. Maybe it did, maybe it did. I don't know. But I don't see any Republicans praising what this guy did. And if he's Republican, so what? He's a maniac. Politics really kind of has nothing to do with it. I mean, I guess it kind of does if it had to do with illegal immigration. Maybe, but this guy's just a psychopath? Or was someone compromised and paid to do this for some reason? Like a false flag or a CIA agent or something like that. Is it that? I don't know. We'll get into that in the third segment.
And even everything that was said, his roommate said that he wasn't even into politics that much. Obviously he knew enough about politics, but to go out and do that extreme of a measure of something,
someone is getting Clinton that we covered in this segment, whether it be the roommate, the wife, him. Someone will be Clinton.
Yeah.
Very soon coming from this. And again, what was the purpose of this? A random guy just does. It's weird. This is the weirdest thing ever. This guy was, well off. He owned a security firm. He was a preacher in Africa for some reason. I don't know. We're going to have to take a break and delve more into this in the third segment. Again, this is the shooting that happened in Minnesota. Vance Luther Valter, his name. Strange that they always have 3 names. People that shoot. I don't know. Stay tuned, though. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more of this shooting coverage. You're listening to Thinking Logically here on 99.3 FM, WBVP. It's Joe Corsi here from Thinking Logically to tell you about Beaver County's #1 realtor, Mark Gullah with RE/MAX Select Realty. With over 10 years experience, Mark knows all the ins and outs of the real estate business, so whether you're looking to rent, buy, sell, or swap your house, you can rely on Mark to take the hassle out. Mark Gullah of RE/MAX Select Realty, going above and beyond. It's Joe again from Thinking Logically, here to tell you about one of my favorite clothing items, the MyPillow hoodie. 2 things I love the most about this hoodie are how it fits and how it feels. This hoodie is extremely roomy, and its terry cloth material makes it lighter than any other hoodie I own. Use promo code LOGIC to maximize your savings. The MyPillow hoodie. Get yours today.
Tri-State Sporting Arms on Main Street in New Brighton is now open. Stop in and explore their extensive selection of high-quality firearms, pistols, and accessories. Tri-State Sporting Arms also pays top dollar for used firearms. Their experienced and highly trained staff is here to assist you in selecting the right firearm for you. Stop on down to Beaver County's newest firearm store, Tri-State Sporting Arms, at 807 3rd Avenue, New Brighton, or check them out on Facebook.
Have you ever wanted to work in radio? Well, now is your chance. St. Barnabas Broadcasting is a network of 11 radio stations, and we are looking for account executives to introduce St. Barnabas Broadcasting and digital media to new prospective clients and grow existing ones. Experience in sales is preferred. Interested prospective candidates can apply by sending their resume to fsparks@beavercountyradio.com or by calling 724-444-JOBS.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logically on 99.3 FM WBVP, brought to you by one of our favorite sponsors, So Fresh, So Clean Pressure Washing. Remember, whether you need your house washed, driveway cleaned, patio, fences, gutters, you name it, call Dave from So Fresh, So Clean Pressure Washing at 724-252-4489. That's 724-252-4489. They're fully insured, and they offer free estimates. So what are you waiting for? Don't be the outcast in your neighborhood with a dirty house or deck. Call Dave from So Fresh, So Clean Pressure Washing today. I still can't get over this killer's roommate. And also, does this hurt Papa John's, the restaurant, do you think? Ryan, would you eat a pizza delivered by this slop?
By him, that guy in particular?
Showing up how he did in the interview, soaking wet with the back. You know, like when you cut your grass, you're not like...
Right.
But the back of your hair is wet for some reason.
Right.
Why? Why not shower before you go out and talk to the cameras and get done up or something?
Yeah.
He's been out there for 2 days. I don't think, he changed outfits at least once. That's good. Did he take a bath though? I don't know. So let's get into talk more about this shooting. Vance Luther Bolter. So he lists himself on LinkedIn as the CEO of the Red Lion Group, which is based, surprisingly, in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's far away. That's in Africa, for those of you. He also worked with Minnesota Africans United, a statewide organization working with African immigrants in the state, according to a now-deleted biography on the group's website. This just gets more interesting by the second. Vance Bolter's wife, Jenny, is listed as the, quote, CEO of Praetorian Guard Security Services, while he is listed as the director of security patrols. And that makes... So the news media was reported that it appeared that he gained access to his police-style uniform, the security vest, which I don't know if it was bulletproof vest, what that was, and all that gear, vehicle, the flashers, everything, via his security firm. So again, the wife, why isn't she being questioned? Maybe she is, I don't know, arrest her, do something. And the roommate, why is he allowed to give interviews to reporters in nothing? Two people are dead. Lawmakers, state lawmakers are dead. Was this an intimidation tactic? I don't know, but why is the wife not being questioned? Breaking. Law enforcement is now claiming they did not find a manifesto from alleged Minnesota assassin Vance Bolter. So again, where the hell is the FBI? Can we get some clarity here? Either you find the manifesto or you don't. ABC News reported this guy, quote, allegedly surveilled his victims' homes and took notes. But remember last segment, audience, his roommate was never suspicious in the days leading up to the killings. His roommate literally said, totally surprised, shocked. So this is how this went down. Allegedly, we have to say allegedly, I guess, Bolter first drove to Hoffman's home in Champlain, Minnesota, in a black SUV with emergency lights turned on and a license plate that said police. Is it really? It just said police? Okay. Hoffman's chilling security camera footage showed the suspect in a black tactical vest, body armor, and a hyper-realistic silicone mask. Armed with a flashlight and a 9mm Beretta handgun, Bolter allegedly knocked on the front door and repeatedly shouted, "This is the police. Open the door." After the Hoffmans were shot, officers proactively went to the home of his fellow lawmaker, former Speaker of Minnesota House of Representatives Melissa Hortman, in the nearby town of Brooklyn Park. That just sounds strange. So the police randomly went to how many lawmakers are in the Minnesota House and Senate? And they just randomly went to the next one, Melissa Hortman. So 2 Brooklyn Park officers arrived, and when they arrived, they saw Vance Bolter's SUV in the driveway with the emergency lights flashing and Bolter standing in front of the house a few feet from the door. When Bolter saw the officers, he allegedly started firing and then rushed into the house, killing Hortman and her husband. The Brooklyn Park officers fired at Bolter while he allegedly rushed into the home, but Bolter escaped into the house and out the back door. Really? A 57-year-old fat man was able to get away on foot from a police shootout. This story is insane. Did you see what this guy looks like versus the police cam? Again, he looks like 100 pounds bigger at least. This is not getting the coverage it deserves, and it won't get the honest coverage it deserves. This is from hold on, this is from Gator Gar on X. Let me read this from 1 second. Because eventually I do want to get to Iran, but this story is just so crazy. So officers pulled up. Let me just wrap my head around this before I get to Gator Gar. Officers pulled up before he went into the home and allegedly assassinated Melissa Hortman and her husband. Then he went out the back door, but wasn't apprehended until 2 days later? That doesn't make any sense. How a fat 57-year-old is able to do this. This is from Gator Gar. For those who live in the tiny bubble of U.S. politics, yes, this is how the CIA handles political assassinations in foreign countries. And he asked, is Vance Bolter CIA or just a normal 7-Eleven manager turned preacher who owns a security company and lives in a halfway house away from his wife and 5 kids to the roommate? It's the weirdest story on planet Earth. Jeffrey Dornick, he posted this on X also. A politically connected ex-security contractor rolls up in fake cop gear, driving a mocked-up armored vehicle and assassinates Democrat leaders on the morning of No King's Day and the ICE riots. Are you really buying this? Let's break it down. Vance Bolter is 57 years old. He's a military private security experience overseas in Gaza, Lebanon, Eastern Europe, and other places. He's a former Minnesota State Board appointee under both Dayton and Walz. I guess that's the former governor. And he suddenly goes rogue, dressed as law enforcement. Come on, that's not random, that's crafted. They say he left behind a manifesto naming the exact Democrats the media wants you to emotionally be invested in. Waltz, Ellison, Omar, Smith. How convenient, like it was written for CNN's teleprompter. This attack happens hours before national ICE protests, No King's Day demonstrations, and a political instability already brewing. And we're supposed to believe this wasn't time to manipulate the narrative. This has every mark of a psychological operation. Elite level execution, manufactured imagery with a fake cop car and an armored SUV, a lone wolf narrative ready to go, an emotional trigger to lock in obedience. They want fear. They want chaos. They want you distracted. Here's the real red flag. The speed of the response. Media, politicians, law enforcement, all singing the same song before the ink on the police report is even dry. The ink on the police report is even dry. We've seen this script before with January 6th, with the Widmer kidnapping. Rinse and repeat. Meanwhile, ICE is finally doing its job, and No King's Day threatens to unify the people against establishment tyranny, both left and right. And suddenly, out of nowhere, the new enemy is some guy who looks like a conservative, smells like a vet, and drives a fake police vehicle. This isn't about Bolter. It's about control. They're trying to paint a target on the back of anyone who questions the system. They want you afraid to speak, afraid to assemble, afraid to resist. I don't have all the answers, but I do know this. The timing is perfect, the narrative is airtight, and the goal is clear. Divide, distract, demoralize. Ask yourself, who benefits? It's a good post, and that's by the account Jeff Dornick on X. So again, strangest story on earth. Are we ever going to hear more of it? I don't know. But we got to move on. We got to talk about Iran, Israel for a minute here. So in the last 20 minutes or a couple hours, I guess, it's been announced that a U.S. Nimitz carrier strike group is on its way to the Middle East. Fox News reported that. Also, at the same time, Iran asked Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Oman to ask Trump to press Israel to agree to an immediate ceasefire. In return, Iran is offering flexibility in nuclear negotiations. At the same time as well, this is all coming in like the last hour. Iran is preparing for the largest and most intense missile attack in history on Israel's soil. That's from the Iranian state media. Why is it always just missile? When are those going to be like an actual ground attack or invasion like we saw Russia, Ukraine, something like that? And also, if you're Iran, why the hell do you announce what you're going to do? It makes no sense. Did you see also Iranian television was struck by an Israeli missile or something and started shaking while she was on TV?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah. That's a shame. We got to move on. We got to go to a commercial break. We didn't even get a chance to talk about the military parade. It's all about these crazy shootings and the No King's Day protest on this episode of Thinking Logically. We got one more segment, though. Stay tuned. You're listening to Thinking Logically here on 99.3 FM WBVP.
Push Beaver County is proudly presenting the 15th annual Beaver County Boom on June the 28th, and Beaver County Radio is the place to listen for all the coverage. Clearview Federal Credit Union will present a live broadcast on Beaver County Radio from the VIP headquarters at Mario's 410 Grill from 6 until the choreographed fireworks and music get underway at 9:45 p.m. Take your radio along to listen to the Clearview Federal Credit Union broadcast or download our free apps on your mobile device, as Beaver County Radio is your exclusive place to hear the soundtrack to the fireworks. The Clearview Federal Credit Union Beaver County Boom broadcast sponsors include the Lisa and Tank Latham team at eXp Realty, Falcones Moon Township Ford, McGee Heating and Air Conditioning, Tom Sipes Demolition, McClendon Roofing, Beaver County Radio, and BeaverCountyRadio.com. The 15th annual Beaver County Boom broadcast is being presented by Clearview Federal Credit Union. When you succeed, we all succeed.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logically here on 99.3 FM WBVP. We spent the entire show talking about the No Kings protest in the first segment, and then this wackadoo that shot 2 state representatives in Minnesota over the weekend. And the media's response and how they lie and try to paint it as politically in which side the politics is on. And here's a prime example. Ryan, do you know who Edward Isaac Duvier is?
I'm not familiar.
He's a senior analyst at CNN.
Okay.
So he writes this on X. In the last week, Marines were deployed in an American city. They kind of weren't. The president has called for a governor to be arrested, and the Speaker of the House has called for the governor to be tarred and feathered. Also, a senator has been pinned and handcuffed, and 2 state legislators have been shot in their homes. Brian Stelter from CNN responded to this and said, "It all points in the same direction." Well, I would love to know what he means by that. You don't hate the media enough, I promise you. I promise you. They're trying to blame this on Trump. That was the whole goal. The whole goal. We predicted it a week before with our Thursday show. Let's move on from killings to something more lighthearted. What do you think, Ryan? Something lighthearted?
Sounds good.
Billionaire dies after swallowing a bee at polo match. That's a real headline. Yeah. Sanjay Kapoor, an Indian businessman, fell ill, I guess you could say, at a sporting event in Windsor on June 12th. Witnesses told the Telegraph that the keen polo player shouted, "I swallowed something," moments before he was reportedly stung by a bee in the throat, I guess you could say. The sting subsequently triggered an anaphylactic shock that caused his heart to stop. Experts say internal stings can be deadly as they cause immediate swelling, blockage of the airways, and a sudden drop in blood pressure that could result in cardiac arrest. Ryan, think about this if you're the bee. You think you're landing on a beautiful flower, about to slurp up some delicious honey, and then you wind up in one of the grossest, most disgusting places on planet Earth, an Indian dude's mouth.
Did you say he was a billionaire?
Yes, he was a billionaire.
Wow.
So even though the guy's a billionaire, just like most Indians, apparently he's a mouth breather. And also, this is the headlines. Friends with Prince Williams, I see. This is another headline. Prince Williams' longtime friend, who was chairman of a global car parts giant, Sona Comstar, collapsed during polo match in Windsor, England on June 12th. He was 53 years old. That's kind of sad if you're a billionaire and like the headline is Prince Williams' longtime friend.
Yeah.
His last words were, Prince William is on the I'm joking, but I think,
of course,
I think he actually may have been on the Epstein list or something. Someone was. I'm just gonna ask, and I'll sound crazy. I don't care. Was this an assassination? He swallowed a bee. Was he allergic? I don't know. Maybe you don't have to be. But was the bee actually some kind of little mini drone? You know that technology kind of exists. All these guards, private people, that medics. Not one of them has an EpiPen for him. No with an EpiPen there. You think some would be carrying around a little bit more than just champagne and caviar.
Right.
At Lifestyle of the Rich and Famous convention here. According to Forbes, Kapoor, who also boasted U.S. citizenship, had an estimated worth of $1.2 billion. And he's dead. Stung by a bee in the throat. Died playing polo. Wow, what a billionaire way to die.
I was thinking the same thing.
Playing polo.
What's the chances of being a billionaire for one on this planet? What's the chances of getting stung by a bee and dying? I mean, those are two very...
There are a lot of bees on planet Earth, but not that many billionaires.
That's true.
So there you go.
How many people have you known in your life personally that died by a bee sting?
Personally, died by a bee sting. I know of someone who died of, not known them, but through the Kevin Bacon effect, know of someone who knows someone who, while they were cutting the grass, I think, actually. Sad.
Jeez.
It was like in his 50s too. So it happens, but he wasn't a billionaire. Okay, we gotta talk about this. Back to the Minnesota shooter. This just proves that this guy was a monster. So the guy that shot Representative Melissa Hortman, he also killed her rescue dog, or shot her rescue dog. I don't know if the dog died or not, but yeah, he shot the rescue dog too.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, sad. Yeah. So we're going to move on with that. Trump on ICE raids. I want them to focus on cities. Biden allowed 21 million people to come into our country. Most of these peoples are in cities, all blue cities, all Democrat-run cities, and I think they're going to use them to vote. It's not going to happen. All right, I agree with you, Trump. You could start with the cities, but please, Mr. President, remember, they all have to go. And I guess our last story of the day, or second last story of the day, Trump announces plans to launch new wireless brand Trump Mobile. Trump Mobile will use phones and services built in America. Ryan, what's your Verizon bill like? Do you have Verizon? What do you have?
I do not. My phone, it's up there.
It sucks.
Yeah, for sure.
A car payment or a cell phone payment today was basically what my car payment was when I was just like getting my driver's license back in like 2001, something like that. Yeah, it's very expensive to own a phone. You don't realize it because you need your phone.
Right.
How could you not, have your phone? So, all right. It is an anniversary today. 10 years ago today, I believe, or it might have been yesterday. Regardless, President Donald John Trump came down the golden escalator at Trump Tower and officially declared his candidacy for president of the United States. What a historical day. Do you remember I remember watching it. I can remember actually watching it live in my living room at my old house, him going down the escalator and some of the things he said. I don't remember the whole speech, but I remember some of it. And he was certainly right about some of the people coming over here from Mexico, from the border, are rapists and murderers. He was totally right about that, and they are bad hombres.
Or if you're a Simpsons fan, you might have even seen that prior to. You see with all these Simpsons predictions, they showed him coming down that escalator the same way.
I remember the episode where Lisa ended up being the president, and she said the president before her was Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Too, and then he actually ruined everything. I'm going to read the tweet right here from Donald Trump, 11:57 a.m. on June 16th, 2015. I am officially running for president of the United States. # Make America Great Again. Gives you chills. That's kind of like a piece of history right there, that tweet. Guess how many likes it has?
I don't know.
11,000.
Oh, really?
Yes. Because he wasn't that popular then.
Yeah, right.
Only 1,800 comments and only 9,300 and change retweets.
Jeez.
I'm going to retweet it right now. Repost. And I'll like it. And I'm going to comment. Great job so far. Great job so far, Mr. President. 10 years later. Enter. Okay. And I guess that's how we'll end the episode. Me tweeting a post that Donald Trump posted. Me replying to a post on Twitter, when it was called Twitter, it's X now, that Donald Trump posted when he was officially running for president 10 years ago today. He changed the political landscape
absolutely
for this decade and the next decade. There's no question. about it. Crazy episode. We don't know if we'll be here on Thursday. I got to talk to Frank. We're going to be either on a tape delay or something, but the Pirates play, I believe, what is it, the Rangers? Is it the Rangers? No. Tigers.
It's the last game of the Tigers series.
Tigers. And so we don't know if we'll be preempted. If not, we'll see on Monday or right after the Pirates end their game. So whatever happens first, maybe follow Frank's morning show. He'll announce it on there if we'll be here at all or if we'll be late. Until then, I'm Joe Corsi signing off here from Think Logic on 99.3 FM WBVP.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.